Nowadays, hard drives are like tetrabytes.
For it. And we're live.
Perfect. I just need to be able to share my screen, and then you can cut this part off, I'm sure. Hey everybody, my name is Burton, and I'm with Propstream. We've been collecting data since 2006. We started with foreclosures, and then over time, we started amassing a larger database of MLS, vacant listings, high equity, involuntary liens. And the idea with Propstream was to allow you to tap into all of those data sets that we've collected. So again, my name is Burton. I've been with the company since 2013. I'm here today to give you a nice little tour guide of what this system can do for your real estate needs. So if you were to ask me what Propstream does, it does technically two things: lead generation, which includes direct marketing. And then the second part would be analyzing a specific property. You can go into a Propstream, type in an address. We're going to give you all the details that we've collected on that address. You can run comps using public and MLS records, print reports that you may need when negotiating with your sellers as well as your buyers. So without further discussion, let me go ahead and just show you exactly what I mean. So when you first log in with Propstream, we're going to pretty much give you a pop-up letting you know all the current things that are out and all the new features that are coming. So we just released the mobile app, which we'll be discussing later on. We also have List Automator and the weekly webinar. So for those of you that don't know how to use Propstream in its totality, or want to join our breakout session where we discuss a certain topic like the comps, the filters, List Automator, this right side here is how you can register and join that overview session, okay? Now, when you close down this pop-up, we're gonna take you to our search page. And so it's gonna take your IP address and zoom in on your market, but you can search nationwide. For the last 15 years, we've been collecting data throughout all of the United States. So you can search a county, a city, a zip code. You can even use our draw search feature here on the map and create your own search area. Now, before I go into searching, let me just show you the toolbar. This is the backbone of our system, and it's kind of designed to have you go through the system and kind of guide you through what it can do. So the first icon is searching. This is where you're either going to search a market and custom build your own motivation list or your own buyer's list. This is also the area in which you're going to be able to type in a specific address, go into the details of that address, and start analyzing it, vetting it, and then running comps on that property. Now, as you're searching specific addresses, as you're building your motivated sellers list, you're going to be able to store them and save them. And those are going to be stored in your My Properties. So My Properties is where we store those specific addresses that you're searching or those marketing lists that you're saving throughout our database. So as you save your tax lien list, as you save your tired landlord list, your pre-foreclosure list, this is where we're going to store them. Now, here in the My Properties page, you're going to be able to micromanage your results, see if any of these properties are in more than one list. But this is where one will primarily export the data. So if you're just here for the data, you can search, save your results, click on that list, and click on export at the top. Actions allows you to delete certain records, move them around, put it on an Excel sheet as well, view them on a map. Now, the second part to saving a property or saving a list that you just created is if that you want contact information. And so that leads into our skip tracing. Now, before you skip trace it, you can go into our contacts, and we're going to show you all the properties that you've saved in alphabetical order. This is like your phone book. Here you can click on a LLC. Maybe you got the hold of the owner's name, so you can overwrite the profile manually. You can type in the first name, the last name, add phone numbers, add emails, and hit save. Now, this area is not just designed for you to edit contact information. This is also an area for if you're coming over to Propstream, but you already got a list from a said provider, you can import that list into Propstream. So by importing a list into Propstream, you'll be able to bring in your lists into our system, just like this outside list here. And the important part is not only can you take this list of addresses you purchased from a different provider and bring it on over, but when it's now in the contacts page, that list too can be skip traced. So you can skip trace any of the properties that you're saving specifically, which would be in your favorites, any of the marketing lists that you save through our database, which would be in the marketing list section, or at the very top, anything that's in the contact list, which includes your imported lists or your outside lists. So again, we don't want you to just ignore the list that you just purchased and then just come on over. Go ahead and bring it on over. We'll allow you to, again, use our skip tracing so you can get their contact information if you haven't already. And then once you get their contact information, whether it's an outside list, a list of properties that you've saved specifically, once you select your group and they're highlighted here at the top, hit add selected contacts. They'll be highlighted in yellow. Now you can hit done and choose the item that you want. Is it just phone numbers, just emails, or both phone numbers and email? Your pricing will vary depending on how many people are selected during that time that you're placing that order. You're going to hit next. It's going to tell you how many properties we're able to skip trace and how many properties we're not. We will omit anything that's a duplicate or that you've skip traced already. We also omit any LLCs or corporations. So you don't have to remove them. Just leave them in the list. We'll just tell you that we can't do it and we'll only do the ones that are available and then give you your costs on the ones that are available. You'll then place your order. And so your imported list or the list that you just built with us or the list of properties you saved specifically have now been skip traced. And in the contacts page, again, your phone book, in the skip tracing results area here on the bottom left is where you'll be able to see your skip tracing results. So you just click on your list. You'll now see the emails and phone numbers. You can click on that person's name and see which one's a mobile landline, a mobile versus landline, as well as the email. The most recent one is always at the top, and the oldest one is going downwards. So here you can delete any old ones if you like, and then hit save, and we'll change those edits for you. But we've just now searched a database, build a list, and in about 5-10 minutes, got their contact information. Or we imported a list from a different provider. They didn't have skip tracing, they didn't have marketing, so we brought it on over to Propstream. 5-10 minutes later, Propstream has given us contact information. We now can check off the list and export it back on out, right? So if you just need to bring a list in to get phone numbers, feel free to do that. Import it in, skip trace it. Once you get the results, you can bring it out. Or in this case, you can build a list with us, but instead of just getting the data, you can get the data and the contact information. So you build the list, then take it over to skip tracing. Once you get the results, you export it. The final step is below skip tracing, and that's campaigns. So here you're able to create a new campaign. You can name it whatever you want, and you can choose any lists that you have imported, saved, specific properties that you've saved, marketing lists that you've created, or down further below, skip trace lists. Any list that's been skip traced, because this is now the list with the addresses and mailing addresses, phone numbers, and emails. So the idea with the campaign page is let us go ahead and market to that list for you. So we can choose a skip trace list. We're going to name that list. And then after we name that list, you're going to hit save at the top, and it creates a campaign for you. Now this campaign, what it's designed to do is to give you a free website. Anytime you create a campaign, you get a free landing page, because we understand that no two campaigns are the same, right? No two marketing lists are the same. You're going to have a marketing list for tax liens with 53 people in there, so they get their own website, right? Because this website's going to talk about how you can help with their tax liens. But then you're going to have an auctions campaign with 39 people. So then that website that comes with that is going to talk about how you can close deals in 30 days, right? So we know that no two marketing lists are the same. So we know that you need to get a landing page for each campaign you create. And so as you can see here, I have over 100 marketing campaigns. Every single one of them gets a website, and that's part of your subscription. Now, the key component is we've created the website, and the reason for that is the website includes a background, a message about what you can do to help, and an application. So if they fill out that application, and when I mean the leads fill out the application, you're going to get an email notification. It's a warm lead saying, hey, I've taken the time to go onto this website, filled out my information, and hit send, and you should be receiving it. So we no longer have to just randomly give out our phone numbers and emails to 73 individuals. We can create a website that they can go to. But how do I get them to that website? Postcards, voicemails, or emails. Those are the three options that you have. So once I create my website, I can choose postcards. And from here, I can use any of our templates. We have standard and oversized cards, but you can use our postcard templates. And we have several dozens to choose from. And these are also categorized. Here at the top, you can see all of our categories. You can see our investor only templates, our realtor templates, any one template that you've uploaded or already customized, because you can take one of our templates and just redesign it if you need to. Or you can see anything that you've used in the past. Maybe there was one that was generating a lot of success. So you can use any of those past orders. Okay? So the idea here is you're going to choose a template, hit select. There it is. Your contact information is already applied. Their mailing address is already being targeted. So I'm just going to hit print and mail. And then it's going to allow me, if you have a payment method, it's going to allow you to go through. If you don't, you're going to get that error message there. So just make sure you have your payment method applied. So first breakdown is the postcard. That's how I can get them to my website. Second is ringless voicemails. These are 10 cents per successful delivery. Step 1, add a caller ID of your choosing. Step 2, upload your own recording. It can be a WAV format, or you can use our obtain audio pin feature, which allows you to call an 800 number and a pin. Dial that pin. While you call the number, they're going to record over the phone for you. Step 3 is select a schedule. So here you can apply a Monday through Sunday schedule. You can even block out dates if you just make sure both time blocks are the same. So if I change 5 p.m. to 9 a.m., Monday will have no delivery there. So I can place the order on a Monday and make sure that I block out every single date and get it delivered on a Thursday. So, right, I place the order on a Monday, doesn't deliver until Thursday at 11:30 in the morning. So you have the ability to manipulate the schedule. And finally, calls per minute. So you might have 500 phone numbers that you need to call. We can do one number every minute. So that would take 500 minutes. We could do 10 calls every minute. That would take 50 minutes. Or we can do the 30 calls a minute, right? And that would be done in about 20 minutes. So have fun with these options. Again, we don't give you your phone number. This is a number that you're going to have to put on here. It's your number or fake number. We'll let you decide. Recording is your own recording schedule, and then calls per minute. Again, it's 10 cents per successful delivery. And then last but certainly not least is the email marketing. So here in the email marketing, it's essentially just an email campaign. We're going to send this email layout. We have 1 of 5 different email layouts for you to choose from. You get to upload your own background. So you can start with the blank email or choose one of our pre-designed ones. Subject line, don't let your lien turn into an auction. I have a contract for you that you might be interested in. Click-through URL essentially redirects them from the email to a website. So by default, it's the website that you created at the beginning of the campaign, or you can send them to a different website. It's your call there. Delivery date. So the delivery date allows you to send it immediately or at a later date. And then this option here allows you to save your design, because you might upload your own pictures, you might upload your own message. If you don't want to have to keep doing that again, check this off. And any templates that you've saved will be stored with our predefined template. So it should just be to the right of our default templates that we give you. But when you hit done, there's the email template. You have, again, 1 of 5 to choose from. And the idea is they're going to get this email, they're going to read it, they're going to hit the learn more button, and then it's going to redirect them to your landing page. So once they see this email, it's going to send them over to this landing page here. They're going to learn a little bit more about you and what you can do for them. They're going to fill out that information and you're going to get an email. And that's why our toolbar is designed in that fashion, because you're going to search, save those results. We would then want you to skip trace it so we can get you contact information in about 5 minutes to 10 minutes, depending on how long your list is. And then we want you to go and campaign to it directly. So that's why the toolbar is designed in that fashion. Now, we do have help videos to help you along the way, video libraries, email support, our webinar videos. And then you have the settings page. So below help, the settings page will allow you to update your member profile. This is very important for postcards. Fill this out so we know what to put on the postcard. Billing information. Some of our features are going to require in-app purchases like skip tracing, ringless voicemails, postcards. So have your billing information filled out. It's going to be needed to place those orders. And then if you don't want to keep banging your card every time we place an order, you can just add a credit. So you can essentially put some into your prepaid credits. So you can just have us put $100 on your account, and then you can use that $100 over time. But this is also geared to the mobile app. So if you are trying to make purchases like skip tracing and postcards on the mobile app, you're going to need to fill out, you're going to need to put credits on your account. In the settings, you also have the ability to add team members. Team members are a partial additional cost. So instead of paying for another account for a team member, you can give your team member web and mobile access for an additional cost, or just web access only, or the Scout, which is essentially a limited mobile app version. It allows them to search properties, tag them, and send them to your mobile profile folder, which is in your My Properties. You'll have your mobile area here, and these are all the properties that a certain team member or the main account user is saving while using the mobile app. So that's the team member area. Account activities, your virtual invoice, and then add-on service. This allows you to upgrade your plan. So if you need more records, have at it. This also allows you to get List Automator Revolutionary add-on that helps you essentially micromanage your list much more efficiently. And then a little bit more information on List Automator here on the right-hand side. So our toolbar is designed to kind of go in that fashion from beginning to end, right? And then log out is the last stop. So let's talk about searching, and let's talk about what we can do in terms of filtering and searching. So as I mentioned, there's 4 types of searches that you can perform. You can search a county. You can type in Los Angeles County. You got to type it out specifically, include a comma and the state. When you do that, click on the recommendation below the search bar, and now you can source the 2.4 million records that we've collected for you in Los Angeles County. Now, if you want to go through 2.4 million records, go for it. You can click on each individual property. You'll get the property details page, which shows you the property details. If it's on the MLS, it'll show you the MLS details. You can run comps on the property using public records, MLS records. You can print reports when you do that. So you have all this information, tax information on all 2.4 million records in this area, whether it's vacant land like we're seeing here, whether it's mobile homes. We have tons of different types of records in our system, okay? Now, I don't believe someone has the ability to go to 2.4 million records, but if you want to, have at it. To make your life a little bit easier, we've categorized those records for you. We collect multiple records from multiple sources. So the first thing we've done is we've gone through these 2.4 million records and separated the MLS. So if I click on the MLS, here are all the properties that are listed on the MLS. And now I can click on them and see the details of those properties. Now, if it's on the MLS, not only am I going to get the property details, but I'm going to get the MLS details, the listing price, days on market, the agent's description, property details that the agent identified, interior, exterior, agent's information, and even listing history as well. And then you even have the photos. So if you see it here at the top, the number 53, that's letting you know if you click on that, you have 53 MLS photos that you can go through. So you can see the listing information, right? The difference between MLS and us is that we're not live MLS data. So we don't get to see it like immediately. It takes usually 24 to 48 hours for us to get it. But along that delay is we tie in the other things that agents don't even get to see. Because we collect, again, county and tax information. So we can see the county records side by side with the agent's records. We can see the tax assessor's information. We even collect mortgage and transaction history. So I'm able to see, you know, when this property was bought back in 2018. I'm also able to see that the owner has 2 loan positions. He has a first loan of $984,000. It's a VA loan. And there's also a credit line of $250,000 on the property, because we collect up to 4 loan positions. So that's what we're seeing in every property's details, is that 7, 8 different web sources or data sources are coming together. Normally, if we go back many years ago, this would have been like 10 different websites that we would have to been on or be on, but now it's all kind of coming together into this details page here. And so even though every property you click on, it looks like that, the story is not the same, right? Like this property, it looks like we have the tax information, we have the comps, it's too is on the MLS, right? But you're going to see properties where if I click on pre-foreclosure and I click on that property, we now see the pre-foreclosure details, right? And this property is off market. So it's not in the MLS box, it's in the pre-foreclosure box. And when we click on it, there's a different story to it. Whereas the properties we were clicking on had the MLS details. Well, this doesn't have MLS details because it's off market, but we do have the pre-foreclosure details that we've collected. And so we've categorized every one of those 2.4 million records, or whatever record amount you have in your county, into their individual categories. Here are the properties that have an auction. Here are the properties that the banks took back, or the foreclosures. Here are all the non-owner occupied cash transactions. If you need a buyer, these are all the non-owner occupied buyers. So every one of these properties were bought in cash, and they're not occupied by the buyer. So that buyer, the cash sell tab, shows you the buyer, what they bought it for, when they bought it, and the name and the address of that buyer. So you get to see that, okay, this is an aggressive investor because they're non-owner occupied cash transactions. You have liens, which are involuntary liens, taxes, HOA, utility. We have vacant listings, which are properties that didn't answer their mail in the last few weeks. And then you have high equity. These are properties that have 100,000 or more in equity, or 50% or more in equity. So when you search LA County or you search Miami, Florida, that's what's happening. We're just letting you know, hey, these are the records that we have collectively in that category. These are the other categories that we have. You can search a zip code. Again, you can even use the draw search feature. You can zoom into an area and draw an area and just get results in that area if you'd like. So the idea with the draw search feature is I don't need all of the city's area, or I don't need all of the zip codes. I just want this hot markets area as results, and you can custom create your own area. So when it comes to data, again, we're nationwide, LA to Miami, Dallas, Texas, you name it. You can search practically anywhere in the United States and get data. Now, again, some of these categories are very large, and we don't expect you to go through 10,000 liens to find the right one. That's where the filter comes into play. So you can go about it two ways. You search a market like Dallas, then you go into the filter. Or you can start by clicking on one of these categories and then go into filter. And when you click on one of the categories first, it automatically selects your quick lists. You chose vacant here, so when we go to the filter, we'll start with that. And now we can just kind of add additional filters on the left side. Now, not only do you have these 8 categories in the beginning, but in the quick list choices, you also have free and clear records, bankruptcy records, you have divorce records, tax delinquency records, flippers. These are properties that have been owned for less than 24 months, 2 years, and they're back on the MLS. So someone bought it, and then 2 years down the road, or within 2 years, it's now listed back on the MLS. This is only designed because we have county and MLS data. The reason why we call that flipper is we believe those are investors that are doing that. Someone bought a property, they probably rehabbed it, and then within 24 months, it's now being listed on the market for sale. And that's what we call flipper. So it's just like finding cash buyers, but I believe more aggressive ones, because these are the ones that we've identified are back on the MLS. And then you have your failed listings, properties that essentially the MLS, and for one reason or another, the agent couldn't, they withdrew the listing, or it expired, or someone changed their mind. So we're letting you know that, hey, once you search a market like Dallas, you can choose any of these 14 categories. So I want a lien. And then from there, if 10,000 is still too much, you can use our additional filters on the left side. I want an owner occupied lien, or I want an absentee owner, non-owner occupied, or I want both. Occupancy status is postal data. Do you want someone occupied answering their mail? Or do you want one that's vacant, not answering their mail? Or do you want both? And just these two alone play different stories. I want an owner occupied property who's answering their mail. So if I knock on a door, if I send a postcard, they're going to answer it. Or if I look for owner occupied that are vacant, well, these are the 213 that don't answer the mail. So we're going to need to skip trace. We're going to need to send postcards. So understanding how the story changes with these filters is a big thing. And we wanted it that way because you may not want someone that's supposed to be living there not answering their mail. So you want the 8,300 that are answering their mail. Same goes for non-owner occupied, right? When it's non-owner occupied, it's most likely a rental property or, property that's, letting their kids, a homeowner that's letting their kids live in it. But we know that the owner is not there, but is there someone there? And that's the occupancy status. I want a non-owner occupied property that's occupied by somebody, a tenant, a relative, it could be whoever, but we know someone's there answering their mail. Or I want an absentee owner where it's vacant, right? They're either in between tenants or it's abandoned. So here are the 310 properties that the owner doesn't live there and no one's answering their mail in that property. So not only is this a good sign that it's not cash flowing, but it's also a good sign that there's no need for us to go knock on the door or send a postcard. We're going to need to somehow get a hold of the owner who's in a different state or in a different county. So these two filters play a big story, or you can keep them under any. You got property characteristics, classifications. How many of these liens are commercial, right? Or office space, or industrial, or vacant land, right? Or residential. So a lot of people don't know that we have more than just single family property records in our system. We have a lot of different classifications that you can tap into. Now, when you choose a classification like residential, then your property type will change. Is it a residential duplex that you're looking for with a lien? Maybe it's a condominium, or just one of the core four that are usually labeled: single family, multifamily, condominium, multifamily 5+. So these are the sub labels and the main labels that you can choose from. And then once you're done with classification and the certain type of property, you have the bedrooms, bathrooms, building size, lot size, year built, home features like pool, garage, basement, attic, unit numbers. So you might be a multifamily investor that's looking for a lien, but it has 10 to 20 units because that's your niche, right? Anything with 10 to 20 units, that's your primary target. So we can identify unit number ranges, school districts. You can even look for properties that are in or not in an HOA because we collect HOA information as well. So just alone, we went from 10,000 down to 6,900. And what we're doing is we're just narrowing down to the ones that we really want, right? So liens, they're single family residential, not in an HOA. We then can start stacking or suppressing data, right? So there's list stacking, which is saying, hey, I want a lien. And then you can go into the MLS status and say, well, I want a lien and they also recently failed on the market, right? And so here are the 123 facing two pain points. They're facing a lien and they wanted to sell and it recently failed, right? And what we design is our system, our filter was not designed to have you just choose a list and just break down the list. No, this filter was designed for you to get creative, right? So you can not only look for a lien that failed, but heck, what about an on-market property that's active, but it's been active for about 180 days, so it's about to expire? Here are your 6 properties that are been on the market for more than 6 months and they have a lien on it, right? So whereas most of us would have gone to most MLS filters and said, hey, I just want an off-market property, and we would have still had to manage 6,800, we can get very specific. It's off-market right now because it failed, and to make matters worse, it failed in the last 60 days, right? So they're still fresh. Let's give them a call. And there are your 12 right there. So just want to show you the level of creativity you have because we've allowed you to tap into all these filters, and all these filters are tied into the details that we collect on every single property. So if I did want like an active property, one that's active, I can say, I want an active property that has a new roof. And in the keyword search, it's going to look through the descriptions. And when I click on that property, here in the MLS details, it's going to say new roof. And there it is. Because we collect that much data, you're able to do things like that, new roof. And so when you're searching for properties, you now can find those 5 properties that have new roof in the description. So get creative is my idea here. Don't build a list, build the problem. So I'm looking for a lien that's off market, maybe because it failed, yada, 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 right? Next area is the pre-foreclosure and bank owned. So here, just like with the MLS, we can add or take away. So I would like a lien that's off market and it's also going through a notice of default or an auction. And here's the 21, right? Or it's bank owned, owned by the bank. Or, hey, pre-foreclosures are very competitive. And maybe I'm very, very new and I'm not good at this stuff. So I need time. So not only is pre-foreclosure very competitive, but I also need more time. Sure, I can look for those liens that have an auction, those 21, or I can take away those 21. I can look for liens and exclude foreclosures and pre-foreclosures, and those 21 are now out of my list. So these aggressive investors, you can go ahead and have those 21. That's fine. I'll deal with these liens and hopefully I can resolve them before they go into pre-foreclosure. And so this area, just like with the MLS, you can add or take away. For those adding, you can apply a recording date, an auction date, a pre-foreclosure release date, opening bid, and default amount. So here we're looking for liens that are not yet in pre-foreclosure. Hopefully we can edge out competition. We then have ownership info. So we can specify how many years of ownership, the owner type, the last sell date, last sell price, and then the absentee owner's location. So if I'm looking for a non-owner occupied property, maybe I want an individual who happens to live in a different state right now. And we're living in a situation right now where flying is a big high risk, right? So a lot of people are not flying anywhere. And so to find these 26 homeowners that own a property in a different state, and now that property has a tax lien, well, they might just be willing to let it go because they're not able to visit that property anytime soon. And you see how that's a problem. And so because I'm able to stack certain data, I'm creating a situation that's unfolding into something that I can work with. Out-of-state owners that have a lien, no one's, it's vacant, no one's there, no one's answering that mail. So not only does it have a lien, you don't live in the same state, and no one's there renting it out, right? So it's a loss of profit, essentially. It's not cash flowing. So absentee owner location is huge. You can even find properties that have been transferred between family members. So show me a property that's been owned for less than a year because it recently had a family transfer, right? An indication that, hey, the previous owner had to transfer it for some medical reason, for personal reasons, we don't know. Transfers are important in my book because it's not always a perfect story when you get properties inherited or transferred to you. It sounds like a good thing because we know, the value of an asset, but some people are not prepared to get another property because there's now property taxes, right? Or it's falling apart. And so not only have you been inherited a property, but now you got to upkeep it. And if you don't upkeep it, then it's not sellable, right? And you still got to pay taxes on it, right? So to identify people that have transferred property, I think could be a benefit to your real estate needs, but I'll leave that to you to decide. But this is the ownership info: years of ownership, owner type, location, and whether it's been transferred, last sell date, last sell price. Finally, you have the last 3, which is the lien, bankruptcy, and divorce status. This allows you to add more to your search. So I'd like a lien that also has a bankruptcy, that also has a divorce or a bankruptcy dismiss, or out of these 646 liens, how many of them are a tax lien? How many of them are an HOA lien? How many of them are child support liens? So you can see all of that nature. So if you want just tax liens, you can break it down even further to 577. This is also a list where you can suppress records, right? Maybe you don't want a lien. So here in the quick suppress, you can suppress a lien, or maybe you've dealt with the bankruptcy before and it was a hassle. So you want to suppress bankruptcies from this list. You want to suppress divorces from this list. For those that do apply the lien, bankruptcy, or divorce filter. Recording date for liens, bankruptcies, and divorces can be applied, as well as the lien amount. I think that's a big one here. Because if we see on the right side, here's a person with a $100, $160 lien. They probably can just pay that off. They probably just forgot to submit their payment, probably got busy. So that one's probably not as motivated as, let's say, a person with a minimum of a $5,000 lien or more. And now we're down to the 65 that have a 5,000 or more lien. So we're now dealing with the more aggressive liens. You can even look for the delinquency year that they didn't pay. Value and equity info allows you to now control the estimated value that you're looking for, what the monthly rental income potentially is, the growth percentage over the last 2 years on that property. You can identify an equity based on a dollar amount or an equity amount based on a percentage. Like, let's say we're looking for liens that at least have 60% or more minimum, and now we're down to 61. Loan to value ratio, this is looking for the amount of the loan to the value of the property. It's like almost the opposite of an equity search. And then assess total value. What's total value based on tax information? And then mortgage information. I can actually go through this list and say, how many of these 61 properties have 2 mortgages? Because I think that's a problem, right? To have 2 mortgages versus 1, I think that might be an issue because now you have 2 payments, right? So you can see properties that have 2 mortgages, properties that have at least 1 mortgage, properties that are free and clear with mortgages. So you can leave it blank. It shows you all of them. You can look for mortgage amounts. You can look for loan to value ratio on the first mortgage based on a percentage or dollar amount. You can see how many of these properties were once bought in cash, or maybe remove the ones that were bought in cash, or include them both. You can see which ones of these properties are free and clear. Maybe that gives you a lot of room to negotiate. Maybe people that are free and clear don't want to negotiate, so you want to remove them, or you can keep them both. And then finally, seller kickback. This is when the homeowner is selling the house privately, right? They own note, they're acting like a bank. So we can show you which of these properties have a seller carryback note, where the owner is the one that wrote the note to the buyer. So these are the things that you can look for. And then when you do it correctly, like we did, we searched Dallas, looked for liens, added additional filters. We now took those 10,000 records and boiled it down to the 61 that meet my specific needs, the things that I know I can resolve, right? And so from here, I can now check those results off and hit add to list. Or if you need just the first 20, you can hit filter before add to list, and you can tell the system, show me numbers 1 through 50. And it will only show you number 1 through 50. And from there, you can hit add to list and add it to a marketing list that's already been saved, or create a new one, Dallas liens, and hit save. And now it gets stored in your My Properties page. From there, you can delete, move, put it in a different list. You can export it. So they're going to get stored here. So again, you can export it, move it around. Once that list, which I just saved, is over here, then we can start going down the toolbar, right? So it's saved in My Properties. I can edit any information manually, or I can go to skip tracing and get contact information and then go into the campaign and save that. Now, the idea is if you did that, if you saved the 50 and you did skip trace it and you did send marketing campaigns, then you're going to end up getting a call back. And at that point, that's when you type in the address and start analyzing it. And before I show you how to type in an address and analyze it, when you're searching markets, so if you search Dallas and apply a nice filter, I would recommend you hit save search here at the top right. That actually saves your filter. So Dallas search, you can apply your details, liens, individuals, off market, etc. You can even replace one of these boxes at the top. So you can check this box off and choose which of these drop-down menus. If you want to replace high equity, you can choose that. And then you can get email notifications. So we can actually pay attention to this filter and the search. So if next week we do an update in Dallas and something meets your criteria, you'll get an email immediately, or daily, or weekly. And so from there, when I hit save, and now we'll replace a box at the top for me, or we'll put it in the box for me. So that way, when I go back, it's there waiting for me, those 64 properties, okay? And if you want to replace it, you can go back to your all searches, is where your default searches are stored. You can hit the plus sign, and then you can replace that Dallas search back at the top, okay? And there we go. So that is essentially how the Save Search feature works. Again, you build the list of motivated sellers. Maybe you're in Dallas this time around and you now need flippers. So you go to our filter, go to flippers now, and you're looking for ones that flipped residential single family property. And you like talking to your buyers, so you're looking for an individual flipper. So here are the 102 flippers in the Dallas market. So our filter can work in many different ways. You choose a list, add to it. You can even get creative. You can just go into a market like Miami and you don't even have to choose a list. You can say, hey, I think a problem is a person that recently failed on the market and they have 3 mortgages, because that's rare. But how many of these people failed and have 3 mortgages? Well, here you are. Here are the 15 properties in Miami that recently failed on the market, and they have 3 mortgages currently on their property. So I was able to just create a problem out of the blue, right? Maybe that problem is I'm looking for an individual who lives in a different state and their property is a residential single family property, but this property was built in 1950 or before. So I just built my own problem. You live in a different state and the house that you own in this other state is like really old. Do you want to sell it? And here are my 286 leads, right? And that was because we understood that over time, we needed to give you filters so you can create these situations that you're not going to be able to find at the county, right? You can't just buy a list that says, hey, I want a list of properties 1950. This is something that you have to craft yourself. And that's why we've enabled our filters to be that way. So as you're creating your leads, saving them, skip tracing them, and marketing to them, they're eventually going to come back around. Someone's going to say, hey, I want to sell my house. And at that point, you're going to type in their address. Or instead of typing in their address, if you do that, this is what happens. We zoom in on the property for you and give you their details, show you the nearby listings and the statistics. We also show you the neighbors down below here, the MLS listings, pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. Another way to get to the addresses details is instead of searching it, you can go into the property or the list. So if you know what list they were in, right? If you knew that they were in that Dallas list, the Dallas liens list, then click on that and then just click on that property. And then from there, you can now analyze the property. You can see the property's details, the lien details, the MLS details, the bankruptcy details, the cash sale details. So what tags you're putting on there. But then you want to run comps, right? Because now they're going to call you. They're, hey, I want to sell my house. What's your offer? And so now I can run comps. Now, the cool thing with the comps is you have access in the comparables. Now, you're going to give you comparables in nearby listings. So if you just want to see neighbor records, go for it. Or maybe you need a cash buyer now, or maybe you need another listing. So go for it. But the most important part here is the comparables. And with comparables, we're going to give you public records, which are all real estate transactions on and off market. We're going to give you MLS transactions, and then you have the ability to have both. Now, I'm in Dallas, Texas, which is a non-disclosure state, and we know that. So as you can see here, when I clicked on the property, it said, hey, use the MLS, because these values are values that are actually given to us by the agent. Whereas when we go to public records, in public records, sell prices are estimated due to non-disclosure state laws. So these values are all estimated values. So that's, again, we've been doing data long enough that we understood, hey, we're dealing with people nationwide, and there are 14 states where you can't use public records to run comps. So having the ability to choose one or the other is very, very important. Or if you're lucky, you can use both. But again, in this state, we probably just want to stick with MLS. So from here, once you choose the data set that you need, date range, bedrooms, bathrooms, year built, square footage, you can look for sold statuses, you can look for pending, you can look for active listings, you can increase and decrease your distance for results. You even can choose the type of property you're trying to comp, right? This is a single family residential property. Some of my results are vacant land. So what I'm going to need is a residential single family property to comp. And now we're down to the 6 properties. So once we're down to the 6 properties, we then can click on the photos. and see the photos of these properties. So now it's a comparison, apples to apples. Did this property sell in rehab condition? And it looks like it did. So this is what it takes for a property in this market to sell for 145. What does a property in this market look like that sold for 120? Here we go, right? And we can see where these are located in the vicinity of my property. So as you can see, 1, 2, and 3 are very close. 4, 5, and 6, not so much. Those are too far, so we'll deselect 4, 5, and 6. These are my 3 comps. Based on those 3 values, the average sell price is 129. I can now hit Save Comps. It locks it in case the owner wants me to call him tomorrow. If he does, that means I can leave the property, and then when I come back tomorrow to that property, I'll still be able to see those comps. So when I'm there, those 3 are still locked in for me. But let's say the owner wants to, have me drive by today. Well, I need to take these comps with me to show the owner. So I'm going to go to Actions, View Comps Report, and now it's going to generate a PDF report for me. And that's the final step of analyzing a property is when you're in this detail area, find the opportunity. What's driving the owner to want to sell? Is it because it's very old? That's probably a reason. Is it because it's non-owner occupied? That's probably a reason. Could it be that they have that $8,300 lien? That's probably the reason. But ultimately, the equity is high. So let's go run the comps. And then now we can make a good offer. And we have the report here, which shows the property details. So imagine you take this report with you when you're talking to the owner. They're trying to get full price on an abandoned property, right? Or on a property that's running down or it's moldy. And you say, you know what, I'd like to give you full price, but let's take a look at the comps really quick. And so in your neighborhood, based on these filters, the lowest one sold for 120, the highest is 145, the average is 129. Here's where they're at on, compared to your property. But, these are the characteristics, and this is what it looked like when it sold, right? So when they sold, this is what it looked like. And this is what the interior of each one looked like as well. So if your property isn't near the condition of these properties, then I don't think I can give you $120,000. Do you understand where I do 80 in cash or 70 in cash? And so the comps report is very, very valuable. It's, again, good for you to use when negotiating, but also good for your buyers to see that you've done your homework. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I've locked up this property for $70,000. It's just going to need a little bit of repairs. But if you could make it look like these guys right here, and these guys being those properties on the report, then you can sell for about 129. And then the buyer is a little bit more excited because, again, you're showing them the data. So that is Propstream for you. We have the ability to lead generation, then get contact information, then directly market, and then we have the ability to vet properties, run comps, print reports. Now, for those that want to go a step beyond, we released an add-on called List Automator. To get List Automator, you're going to need to go into the settings and go into add-on services. Now, List Automator is a tool that took us 2 years to make, but it has revolutionized the industry. And let me explain why. So List Automator starts at $27 a month. And if you unlock it, you're going to get your My Properties page enhanced. So the first thing that happens in My Properties page, if you have List Automator, is that you're going to get these 10 boxes here at the top. And these 10 boxes are isolating 10 categories: vacant, high equity, low equity, negative equity, foreclosure, bank owned, pre-foreclosure, auction, has lien, free and clear, and bankruptcy. The reason why we have these 10 boxes is you might have saved a list a while ago, like the Dallas lien list we just saved, right? Did you know that out of your 50 Dallas liens, 6 of them were vacant? I didn't know that because my filters when I saved didn't ask for vacant or no vacant, right? I just said, hey, I want it non-owner occupied. I didn't say I wanted occupied or vacant. I just said any, right? But now it's important for me to know because I was about to market to 50 properties, and if 6 of them are vacant, then these 6 probably don't need to get a postcard. I just saved myself a few bucks, right? So that was the key component is, hey, when you're saving a list, we just want to let you know that these 10 categories exist or don't exist in that list. So of these 6 properties, they're here. right? So that's the great thing about it. You can now see how many properties are in vacant, how many were in free and clear. Now, the cool thing about this is that it does it for every list. So when you click on, a buyer's list, here's what is happening with that buyer's list. Out of your 695 buyers, 280 of their properties are on market. 365 of them just sold their property. 65 of them are vacant, 262 of them equity, and so forth, right? So you're able to see your buyers breakdown. But what I like about it is here at the very top, it shows you all of your saved properties, and it breaks down every one of these categories within your, in this case, 42,000 results. So now I can say, okay, wake up in the morning, go to my properties. Oh, wow, I have 42,000 results, and here's what's happening. Hey, you know what? These free and clear ones, I like that. I can click on that, and now it just isolates those 20,000 free and clear properties that are in all of my lists. Now, not only does it isolate them, but here at the upper right-hand side of every one of these 10 boxes, I can edit it even more. Okay, so I have 20,000 free and clear, but that's still a lot. How many of these free and clear are non-owner occupied, off market, and are owned by a person for about 10 years or more? And these are the same filters on our search page, but now what I'm doing is I'm filtering this category. And when I hit apply, it says of your 20,000, Burton, it's going to give me a new number. It can be 6,500, 7,000, whatever that new number is. And so what I've done is I've literally created a list within a list that I've already saved at one point or another, right? Because, hey, I have 42,000 records, great, but is there a certain something that you want from that? And these are the 10 categories that they're in. And then you can apply your filters and then get that specific result there. So the 10 boxes are the first thing that gets unlocked. And then it says here, okay, 20,000 is where we started off with. You added these additional filters. Here's what we have. 2140 meet those criteria. Now I can check off those results and export it or create a new marketing list, right? Create a new one, right? The free and clear, 10 years, yada, 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 right? So all I did was go into all saved properties, chose a category, and then added a filter, and it just narrowed it down. The second thing I can do is I can actually replace that category. So let's say I don't like free and clear. I can go there and I can actually completely replace it. So I can remove everything. And instead of free and clear, what if I'm looking for failed listings? So now instead of free and clear, I've named it failed listings, and I can choose failed listings here. I can even add a description. So failed listings with 10 years of ownership. And so I'll go to ownership and do minimum 10 years. And so when I hit apply, this is a whole new category now. Out of my 42,000 results, here are the 1,200 failed listings with 10 years of ownership. So you can either edit the ones that are already here, like vacant and high equity, or you can click on that and actually delete that and rename it. Actually, you can have 10 different categories of your very own at the top, just like I have here with failed listings. So that's the first upgrade with List Automator. The second upgrade with List Automator is the import list button here. So for the first time ever, you can import data into our system and we'll give you our records on top of their records. No other system out there has that. So if you bought a list from a different provider and let's say they don't have mortgage information, or let's say they don't have MLS information, so you don't know of the properties that you bought with them, which ones are on or off markets or which ones have high or negative equity. Well, guess what? With List Automator, you can import that list. So I imported a list yesterday of 260 properties. I called it the Breakout Driving for Dollars list. And so when I go into my marketing list, it's right here. Those properties are now with details. So I imported the list. Here's the MLS details, the property details, tax information, mortgage information. Not only that, but within the list that you just imported, here's what's happening, right? 8 of them are on market. 3 of them just sold. 213 have high. So we just took a different list, a list from outside of our system, brought it on over. Propstream gave you the data, and now it's telling you what's happening within that list that you just imported. And from there, we can again edit, like you see me here, add our own filters, 10 years of ownership, off market, hit apply, and then that's what we have. So once you import into our system and we give you our data, feel free to customize these 10 categories to isolate what it is you want within your imported list after you get our data. So that's the second important part. And finally, the third, and by far the most important part, is the automate list feature here. The automate list feature lets you take a list that you saved with us, like this Dallas lien list. What it's going to do is it's going to monitor this filter. When you save a list with us, we know what filters you use. We know the location of that search. We know the filters that are associated to this list. So what we can do for you is monitor that list, meaning every time we do an update, we can automatically ignore it. So we're ignoring it now, but we can automatically add it to this list. So if we do an update tomorrow and a property in Dallas that's pushed into our system meets that filter, we can add it to this list immediately. So today it says 50, but tomorrow when I log in, it's going to say 51 because we gave the system the ability to add it to our list automatically. Or I can hit add to another list. So don't add it to this list, rather add it to another list of my choosing. That way I can mark it to this next list next week. And finally, I'll do it myself. So I do want you to notify me of these new updates, but don't do anything. Just tell me how many have been updated that meet my criteria and let me do it myself. And then finally, property changes. So this is going to monitor properties that are in your list. So if any of these 50 properties no longer meet that filter, we can ignore it, which is what we're doing now, remove it from the list. So today it says 50, tomorrow I log in, it could say 42 because 8 were automatically removed. If you don't like that, then I would recommend move to another list. So don't, remove it from this list, but put it in this other list. That way we can follow up and see what happened. All right, see why it's no longer meeting our criteria. Or my preferred option is I'll do it myself. What this will do is let you know how many properties in your list, 12, 10, 20, no longer meet your criteria. And then from there, you can also set up notifications. So by essentially automating your list, in this case, I'm telling the system to let me know when new properties hit, also to let me know when properties get removed from my system. Once you automate a list, it's going to take it from your favorites or your marketing list and put it in the automated list area. So as you can see, I'm now monitoring my Dallas lien list that we just created today. Now there shouldn't be any changes at all because we just created a list, but let's take a look at another list that's down here, right? So here's a list of 496 Riverside liens that are not in pre-foreclosure. Now, right now it says 496, but when I click on it, do you see what's happening here at the top? These 496 properties are supposed to have this filter. Riverside, California, liens, off market, not in pre-foreclosure, owned by an individual for 10 years or more, right? That they're supposed to have that filter. But this morning, right now, when I clicked on this list, it's saying, hey, we just updated some properties and 8 of them meet this criteria. So these 8 are not in your list right now, right? They just got updated recently, but they meet this criteria. What do you want to do with them? Well, what I want to do with them is I want to check them off and I want to add it to that list or add it to another list, right? So if I wanted to add it to that list, I would choose that same list, hit save or add, and now my 496 is 504, just like that, right? So it's automatically telling me, hey, we found new updates that meet this filter, right? This particular filter. So now I can go ahead and add it. And when I go over here to the far right side, I can see those that were added, right? So date added to the list, here they are. Here are the 8 that were just added, right? And again, this list was created on June 14th. And so about a month and a half later, 8 new properties have populated in our records that meet this criteria. But at the same time, I created this list on June 14th, but a month and a half later, 13 properties in my list don't meet my criteria anymore. And that is why List Automator is powerful, is because it's identifying the properties that don't meet your criteria which we believe don't need to get your marketing anymore, right? So what I would like to do is before I go and send 504 postcards, I'm going to delete these 33 first. So those 33 get removed from my list. And then now I can send my postcards, right? Now I can send the 500, or I'm sorry, the 471 postcards, because that is what is meeting my criteria as of right now. So it doesn't seem like much, but as you can see, I mean, 33 postcards not sent. If postcards were 50 cents a piece, that would have been a good $16 right there that we saved, right? $16 and some odd cents, right? So $16.25. But when we look at it from a grander scheme, because with $27 extra, you can monitor up to 2,000 properties unless you have the higher plans. I have a higher plan, but I mean, my higher plan lets me get a lot of properties to be monitored. But if you imagine you had 2,000 records and it's saying, hey, of your 2,000 records that we're monitoring, 460 don't meet your criteria. Again, let's just do some quick math. 460 cards that don't get a 50-cent postcard, well, you just saved $230. And that's because we're letting you know that you got to remove them. And that is what List Automator was designed to do, to give you these 10 new boxes so you can add more filters or isolate opportunities that you might have overlooked, or create your own filters that you want to see within a list that you just saved. It also gives you the ability to import a list, like a driving for dollars list. That also applies to something that's old. You might have a list that's like 2 years old, and if you need to update it, this is a perfect opportunity. You can update an old list, and we'll give you our records as of that day that you upload. Tell you how many of them are low equity, so you can get rid of those. But the ones that have high equity, those are probably still a good target, right? And then you also have the automate list. Please monitor my lists. Add and remove properties that either meet or no longer meet my criteria. And that is the list automator for you. And I want to leave off with showing you guys our new mobile app. So just a few days ago, a few weeks ago actually, we released our mobile app. And this is what that bad boy is going to look like. So if you're the main account holder, the mobile app is for free. It looks just like this when you log in. So just use the same username and password. Again, the mobile app is free for all main account holders. If you're a team member, you're going to need to speak to the main account holder to get access to it. But the concept with the mobile app is that your toolbar is now at the bottom, and there's just 5 tools to worry about. There's search, which is where you'll be able to search an address, an APN, or do geolocate. So the idea is you're out there talking to the owner, you don't have your laptop with you, you forgot your paperwork. Well, don't you worry. You can type in the address, just like the address that we were using earlier, and see not only the details. So here at the top, you see the address, characteristics. You also have the photos. MLS photos are there. You can tap on the photo and see all the photos that we have. And then below that, you have the same layout that we have on our desktop. So you have the property details, which if you look down below, you get to see the property details, ownership's name and land location. But then there are different pills that you can click on. So you can see the pre-foreclosure details and see all of that. And you even have documents that you can see. So you can get documents straight from your phone. But not only do you have the pre-foreclosure details, but anything else that the property is going through. Bankruptcy details, lien details, MLS details, right? Tax information, transaction history, the open loans. So for the first time ever, you don't have to bring paperwork with you, right? All the information that's on our desktop is now here at the power of your hand. Now, not only do you have the details with you and the situation that the owner is going through, but in case the owner wants a price, you can now run comps right then and there. So the comps area will let you see the comps, the neighbors in case someone sold recently. You also can see what the cash buyers are buying in the area to make sure you're not offering too high. But with the comps area, you have the same setup: public records, right? MLS records, or you can use both if you'd like. And then from there, when you get your results, you can tap on your results and see your comps. So here's one of the comps. It's characteristics. You can even tap on the photo and just make sure it was an after repair comp. Was this comp actually something that was repaired? And it does look like it was, right? We can go to the next comp and do the same thing. There's the next one. What does that look like? Okay, that one's a comp for sure. So you have now the power in your hand. Now, before you choose public MLS, you also have the ability to filter. To the right of both, you have the filter icon. Same filters on our desktop. So filter date range, characteristics to isolate the comps that you need. And then on the opposite end here, these 3 horizontal bars, that lets you generate a report or save the comps. You can lock the comps and the filters, but the report's the same report that was on our desktop. So it shows you the comps, you can save it, you can even share this report to a team member or an external contact. Hey buyer, I have a property for you, here's some comps, you should check it out. You could send it to that external contact. Now, the idea with the system, again, the idea with the mobile app is so that you can make an informed decision. So imagine we go to the property, the owner's talking to us, we get to talk with confidence because we have all the details of what's going on. Owner wants a price. Okay, we can now offer a confident price because we have the data. We're not just shooting from the hip anymore, right? We're using the MLS, public records, or both to get the correct ARV. And then opportunity. So here we get to see the numbers, right? What's the estimated value? What's the estimated equity? What's the lien amount that they owe? What's the loan amount that they owe? So the idea is this is going to be designed for you to have a confident conversation. But let's say the owner is not there. Let's say we were driving for dollars, right? We stopped in front of the house. It looks abandoned. Well, great. I get to see the details, run comps, see the numbers. And then if the numbers look good, right? If the equity is good enough, then it gets to get skip trace, right? I don't want to just skip trace if the numbers are not good. So our system now lets you vet the properties before you decide to spend money on skip tracing or sending a postcard. And that's the thing. Without this detail, this property could have been abandoned and I send a postcard. And then when the owner calls me, I say, well, how much do you own the property? And they're like, oh, well, it's upside down. Well, if it's upside down and I only know how to wholesale, then it's not going to work for me. And so, sorry, Mr. Owner, I can't help you, right? So not only did we waste time on marketing, but we just literally, built some false sense of hope. The owner thought we were going to be able, why would we send him a postcard if we couldn't help him, right? Now, he didn't know that we sent a postcard because we didn't know the numbers, right? But now you know the numbers. Now you get to see if it has equity or doesn't have equity. If it doesn't have equity, don't send it a postcard, right? So that's how this system works here. You also have documents that you can purchase, and then you can get directions. So if you're just the type that wants to knock on the door, you can get directions straight to that property. And then share. You can share the details of that property. So this is what the details looks like. And you can search details either by the address, either by APN, or let's say you're driving for dollars and the address is kind of blocked by a tree, or it's just the roof is falling apart and you couldn't see the address. Geolocate is your best friend. You pull up to the property, you look for the parcel, you click on the parcel, and it shows you the property's details of that parcel. And then you can go into the details and run your analysis from there. Okay, so that's the search page. That's the first icon. You can search by address, APN, and geolocate, which is tapping a parcel. Geolocate, what I like about it too, it's kind of like a table conversation type of search, where if someone says, hey, I have a property in Atlanta, you should check it out. Well, okay, well, what's the address? And you can type in the address, or you can type in the city, Atlanta, and it will zoom you into Atlanta. So it says, okay, we're in Atlanta. Where is it? Oh, it's over here by the zoo. Okay, it's just south of the zoo. All right, it's right there. Oh, there it is. And we can tap on that parcel and get that detail of that property. So I like the geolocate because of that little magnifying glass. It allows you to zoom in on an area. It also lets you change the view from satellite to road view, and then you can reset your search by clicking on that bottom button. Now, as you see that anytime you're in a property and you go to the details here at the top right, you can tag and you can favorite that property. Tagging means that a certain thing happened, right? Status. What happened? Appointment was canceled. We followed up. We left a message. We sent marketing, right? Next is tags. You're driving. What happened? Well, we saw broken windows, overgrown lawn, the roof is caving in. And these are not things that are here by default. These are things that I've added. You can hit the edit button right here on the right side, and you can add your own filters. So you can say smells bad or spoke to the owner, and you can hit add, right? You can also add notes. Hey, I'd like to buy this house, or talk to the owner, wife makes all the decisions, and then you hit apply. So you can do things like, wife makes all the decisions, and then you can also assign it to a team member, you can assign it to yourself or your team member. But when you hit apply, it tags the property. And when it does tag the property, you now are going to see that on the desktop version. And also I can favorite it. That's the heart button. And what favoring does is it puts it in my favorite section. So I've not only tagged the property and put it in my favorite section, which is now here, but on the desktop version. So if I go to the desktop, and I'm just going to need to refresh this right here, I'm going to see that here in the lower left-hand side of the My Properties. So in My Properties, here on the lower left-hand side, the LA Sorna that we just tagged is now here. And not only is it here, but there's the tag. See, wife makes all decisions, overgrown lawn, sent marketing. So it's a communication between two systems. And finally, to the right of favorites is our revolutionary drive tool. So a lot of people ask, can I build a list with Propstream? Can I do the same thing I can do on the desktop, search a market and then build a list? Answer is no, you cannot. However, instead of searching a market, you can search a radius around your phone. So the first thing in the drive is, do you want us to record what we're about to do? Yes or no? Second, you have two options. Set filters in drive. So this allows you to use the same filters on our desktop. So side by side here, it's nearly identical. It's nearly identical, right? Instead of searching a city, right? Instead of searching a city and then going to the filter, here on the mobile app, I'm searching a radius. So it says 15, but what I'd like is a 2-mile radius around my phone. And then I start applying the same apps or the same filters. I want non-owner occupied. I want it occupied. Quick list choices are the same ones here, right? Quick list choices on market, vacant. Let's do a lien, right? Then we have property characteristics. We have MLS stats, right? So we're looking for off-market properties. We got pre-foreclosure details, ownership info, same filters on our desktop that we just went over. So here I'm going to do an individual and 5 years of ownership. And we can do equity, mortgage amount, whatnot. But again, instead of searching a market, you're doing a radius. And now when I hit apply, oh, sorry. That's it goes keeping it running in the background. So my filters should still be saved here. I think there's an update I did not get. So let's go back to drive. Okay, cool. They're still locked in. I'm going to go ahead and apply. And then Propstream is going to say, okay, within 2-mile radius and based on those filters, here are the properties in your vicinity that meet that criteria. So this app has revolutionized driving for dollars, because driving for dollars was just looking for abandoned properties. With this app and our drive feature, you can now look for properties that are in pre-foreclosure, properties with a lien. Let's look at number 2, for example. Right, number 2 doesn't look like a property we would have considered a physically distressed property, right? Definitely not a property you would have drone by and said, oh, yep, that's definitely a lead, because it doesn't look like a lead from the outside. But what makes this a lead was the fact that when I did my filter search, it showed up with a lien. And this property has a $3,100 lien on the property. And that lien can cause a pre-foreclosure. And I'm able to identify that. And so from the comfort of my home, I get to see where this property is at, right? I get to see that it's right over there, right over here. I get to not only see that, but I get to now run comps, get the ARV. I can see the opportunity. And then once the numbers all make sense, I then can skip trace, send postcards if it's a non-owner occupied property, or if I feel like, I just want to talk to the owner, I can just go get the directions to that property. And so that is our new mobile app. Now, that's the set filters in Drive. Anything that you're doing, so as you're analyzing properties and driving, it's monitoring your entire activity. So right now, I've spent about almost 2 minutes in this area. and all the stops I've made. But when I end it, it's going to ask you, do you want to save your status? You can hit save and name it or end it. And then just drive is the opposite. Just drive is, hey, you know what? I'm not looking for a specific filter. I just want to drive. I just want to drive and see what's around me. And so as I'm driving, I then can click on parcels and start adding parcels along the way. So I click on a parcel, go to the details, add a favorite, and then go to the next property, right? Go to the next one, keep driving. So just drive is where you get to create your own route. Now, when you're recording your drive, we're going to store it in the more section. So the history is just all the properties that you've saved, but the more section shows you your mobile activity drive log. So here you get to see all of the drives that have been saved. So as you can see here, this is what it looks like. It shows you your recent path, what you did, all the stops along the way. And not only that, but again, this is not just for the most recent one, but this could be for one that you did many weeks ago. It just stores your log. It shows you when that log was performed, right? How long the distance was, how long it took you, and how many stops along the way. And you see these greenhouses? Well, the cool thing about that is if you click on the greenhouses, it shows you the property that you added at that time. And that is our new mobile app. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. My name is Burton, and I appreciate you guys watching this.